It's May, which means it's time to celebrate Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Hello there, Mayhem fam, and welcome back to Snacks and Facts, the series where we talk about some of the creatives, artists, executives, and more that bring to life some of our favorite theme parks and movies. It's still May, made it just in time, which means we are celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Month here at Universal Orlando, and I'm super excited to share some of the stories of these amazing people who helped bring all this to life. Let's get in there. I really hope you've been enjoying season 2 of this series. We did the whole first season at Walt Disney World, and we've been doing season 2 here at Universal Orlando. Already done a video on Black History Month and Women's History Month, and honestly, while these are a little unusual compared to some of the more exciting content we cover, these are some of my favorite videos to make because I love learning about the amazing people. And often these are the stories that you don't hear, not only because they are unfortunately people that don't get recognized as much, but also I find people don't know as much about the history and the creators of the Universal parks and movies the same way they would maybe perhaps about Disney. First up, we are going to talk about animator Iwao Takamoto. Iwao was born in Los Angeles to Japanese parents, but unfortunately, I don't even know how to say this part because my voice sounds really cheery because I'm excited to be telling you his story, but not this part. He had to live in an internment camp in the 1940s in World War II, but that is where he learned how to draw. From 2 animators who were working in Hollywood and put in the internment camp, they taught young Iwao how to draw. Obviously, he did not enjoy being at the camp, so any chance he could to take a break, he would work on farms in California and neighboring states, and while he was there, any time he had, he would draw everything he saw. After the war, he applied to work at Disney with his sketchbook full of, quote, anything and everything he saw, and he became Milt Kahl's assistant. Milt Kahl is one of Walt Disney's 9 old men, his original animators, known for drawing characters such as Pinocchio and Bambi. While at Disney, Iwao worked on classics such as Cinderella, Peter Pan, Lady and the Tramp, and Sleeping Beauty, which is actually where he met his wife. He left Disney in 1961 to work for Hanna-Barbera as a character designer and is known for the original designs of iconic characters such as Penelope Pitstop, the Jetsons' dog Astro, and most famously, Scooby-Doo. He continued to draw and design characters as well as becoming a producer where he produced shows such as The Addams Family. He also directed one and only one film, but it's a banger, the animated Charlotte's Web. Eventually, he worked his way up and became the vice president of creative design at Hanna-Barbera. Throughout his time as an animator, he won the Winsor McCay Award in 1996, Winsor McCay being the pioneer animator who drew Gertie the dinosaur, who you're probably familiar with. He also won the Golden Award from the Animation Guild in 2006 for his over 50 years of contributions to the art of animation. So, in honor of Iwao and his incredible contribution, what a story to learn how to draw in such a devastating situation, to retiring as a vice president of Hanna-Barbera and bringing us characters that we still know and love and are brought to life in these parks. We are going to go meet his most famous design, Scooby-Dooby-Doo.
What's up, dude?
Hi, Shaggy. Hi, Scooby.
Like, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. What are you up to?
Dude, we are just like vibing, hoping someone will give us some free ice cream. I mean, we are scouting out looking for clues in case Velma asks.
In case Velma asks. What about Fred and everybody else?
Oh,
are they busy?
Judgmental.
They're not as judgmental.
Yeah,
Velma.
The 3 of them are out doing some clue finding. And
Do you guys always team up when you do your adventures? Yeah.
Tubes and me, dude, we gotta stick together.
I think that's smart. Keep you 2 together.
Exactly. Yeah, BFFs, best food friends.
I love that. I love that. Have you seen any ghosts today?
Okay, like earlier this kid told me there was a ghost behind me and it was like a solid wall. So I don't know if it phased out and went back in.
Yeah,
Ghosts have been known to do that, right?
They are pretty sneaky that way.
Yeah.
Can we take a picture together?
Like, sure thing, dude.
Next up, Fast and Furious Supercharged, because we're going to talk about a member of the family. Maybe not the one that you're thinking of if you're a Fast and Furious fan. I'm not talking about Han, character from Fast and Furious. We're going to talk about James Wan. And James Wan is a prolific horror director, so if you don't want to see stills from any of his spooky movies, you may want to skip to the timestamp on your screen. James Wan was born in Malaysia and immigrated to Australia when he was 7. He graduated from the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology with a BA in Media Arts. And it was shortly after school that he teamed up with a friend of his named Lee Wannell, and they wanted to make a horror movie. they decided to write it and fund it themselves so they could have creative control over the story. And funding it themselves means they didn't have a lot of money. And they realized the cheapest way to do this would be to primarily have the story take place in one room with as few actors as possible. They had a couple of different ideas, such as 2 men trapped in an elevator, and the entire thing was shot with elevator security cameras. At some point, James pitched to Lee an idea where, what if we had 2 men chained on either side of a bathroom from each other, trying to figure out how to get out, but there's also a third man who's dead in the middle, but the twist at the end will be that guy was actually alive all along and the orchestrator of this evil plot. Upon hearing this, Lee was motivated to write one word in his diary: Jaws. Just kidding, that's obviously not the movie I'm talking about. Saw. As the plot continued to develop, they did realize they'd need more than the $20,000 they had raised, so they went to LA to pitch the film. Through their jobs at the Australian Broadcast Company, they had cameraman friends that they got to help and shoot a promo for Saw to show the movie studios. Eventually, one signed on, and Saw was given a $1 to $1.2 million budget, which is still very, very low for a movie. The two co-wrote the film, Wan ended up directing, and Wanol starred in the film as Adam, again, to save money, because they didn't have enough money to afford 2 actors after they got Princess Bride's Carrie Yules to sign on. But it was a smash success, making over $104 million at the box office, and it inspired one of the highest grossing horror franchises in history. Now, James Wan had a couple of duds after that: Dead Silence and Death Sentence. They're both films that barely made their production budget back, so he took some time off. Wan returned to directing horror in 2010 with the original Insidious. He wanted to make it independently to avoid studio control, and he was eager to make a horror film that wasn't based on gore, because Saw had been at this point labeled as torture porn, and it's what he was known for. And he did it. Insidious has one of the highest rated jump scares of all time, and if you've seen the movie, you know exactly the moment I'm talking about. Because it was independently made, they again had quite a low budget with only $1.5 million, but it has since grossed over $100 million and spurred on 4 sequels. Wan directed the second and has been a producer on the remaining 3 as well. But his next horror beast is my personal favorite as a horror girly, The Conjuring. At this point, when I see James Wan's name on a film, I know it is going to have the best, most horrifying, terrible jump scares you can imagine. In my opinion, James Wan is the king of jump scares, and boy, did he get me good during my first viewing of The Conjuring. With the clap, oh my gosh. Fellow horror girlies, you know what I'm talking about. This movie had a $20 million budget, and it made $319 million, and it has spawned a literal Conjuring cinematic universe, which comprises of 9 films officially, 11 if you count the spin-offs Curse of La Llorona and Wolves at the Door, and the final Conjuring movie comes out this fall. James Wan directed Conjuring 2 as well, but he has been a part of the writing or producing team on every single one. But his first major success outside of horror came with a family. James Wan directed Furious 7, which is the last of the movies to feature Paul Walker, as he tragically died in an accident during the production. And yes, this is the one where Vin Diesel and Paul Walker jump a car through not 1, not 2, but 3 separate skyscrapers. Furious 7's budget was $190 million, so a little bit more than he's given for horror, but it made $1.5 billion with a B. Wan has continued to crank out blockbuster hits. In 2018, he directed Aquaman, which is the highest grossing film in the DC universe. I'm led to believe that doesn't include all of the Dark Knights. I'm not exactly sure how the DC cinematic universe works, so please don't yell at me if I said that wrong. Since then, he has directed the Aquaman sequel, a little weirdo horror movie, as I like to call it, Malignant, which I found quite enjoyable, and produced many more horror films and shows. His upcoming projects include a live-action remake of Gargoyles on Disney+, and he's been tapped to make the live-action remake of Frankenstein by Universal. To celebrate James, you might be thinking we're gonna go ride Fast and Furious Supercharged, which you know I'd love to do because I unironically love that ride, but I think there's something a little bit more fun to celebrate right outside here in San Francisco. And no, it's not the full setup they've done of Amity for Jaws' 50th, which I'm trying very hard not to get distracted by right now. We're gonna get a little treat right here at Streetcar Snacks, which is this San Francisco cable car shaped snack booth. Here they sell a variety of Asian street food dishes, including a couple of satay skewers and an ahi tuna cup, as well as some drinks. But there's a fun story of the one we're gonna try. Here she is, the Asian beef satay. Now, satay is a very popular style of cooking in Asia where you have a meat skewer, cook it over an open flame, and this one has got a soy glaze and spicy peanuts on top. Little cilantro, it looks like. Super excited to dig in, although it is 1 million degrees, so hot meat, you know, maybe not the first choice, but it smells amazing. And we're eating it outside of some of the cars actually used in Fast and the Furious, which makes it even better. But the reason this one is particularly important is because for the different monthly celebrations, Universal celebrates not only the team members, but some of their culinary creations as well. And this recipe was designed by sous chef, I've been told that he goes by Chef X, Samadan, who is from the Philippines. He said that this is a very popular street food back home, and so he used some of the meat that they would traditionally use there, and then he says he, quote, velveted the meat to make it even more tender, and is super proud to offer this at the Streetcar Snacks booth. So, in honor of James Wan, Horror King, Family Man, and Chef X, cheers. Oh my God. That meat fell apart. I thought I was gonna have to get it off. It fell apart into my mouth. Oh my God, it's so good. I truly was not expecting that meat to fall apart the way it did. It's perfectly cooked. You can taste that it's been grilled. Love the little bit of crunch from the peanuts. Little sweetness and saltiness from the soy glaze. My only thing, as someone that loves heat, and a lot of Asian food does have heat to it, I wish it had some spice, maybe some sambal sauce on it or something, but as it stands, it is delicious. I would recommend this to anyone as a great hearty snack. Maybe not when it's 1,000 degrees, but I'm glad that this is on the menu for a while now. This is not just for the month of May, and if you like meat, you should try it. Next up, we are going to talk about one of the most accomplished actresses in all of Hollywood, and I would bet, knowing the Ma'am Fam, that you have seen one, if not many, many of her films. We're talking about Michelle Yeoh. Michelle Yeoh is a Malaysian actress, and her father's actually a Malaysian senator. She started to dance at age 4, and they moved to England at 15. Unfortunately, her dream of becoming a professional dancer was dashed when she, in her late 20s, had a spinal injury that caused her career to shift from, again, wanting to be a professional dancer to other arts, including choreography. Michelle won Miss Malaysia World at age 20 and then got into acting, with her first acting job being a watch commercial with famed martial arts artist Jackie Chan. Because of this, a production company called her and offered her a co-starring role. Now, she grew up speaking English, so on the phone when they were speaking Cantonese, she didn't fully understand what she was agreeing to. And it wasn't until she got to Hong Kong to make this movie that she realized she was starring in a movie with Jackie Chan. Because of this, she learned to speak Cantonese by working in Hong Kong, but has later said that not learning to read and write Chinese characters is one of her biggest regrets. She rose to fame because not only was she incredible as an actress, but she did her own stunts, so she began an acting career, getting a starring role in only her third movie, called Yes, Madam. She was notably in Police Story 3 Super Cop, and her first American movie was the 007 film Tomorrow Never Dies, where her co-star Pierce Brosnan called her the female James Bond based on her incredible fighting and combat skills. She continued to have success in Hollywood and even learned Mandarin to star in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Other career highlights include the critically acclaimed Memoirs of a Geisha, the beloved franchise film The Mummy: Tomb of the Dragon Empire. She's also dabbled in some popular TV shows like Star Trek Discovery. More recently in her career, she starred in the ultimate plane movie Crazy Rich Asians, Marvel's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, one of my personal favorite Marvel movies, and Everything Everywhere All at Once, which won her many awards, including the Oscar, making her the first Asian American actress to win Best Actress in the 95-year history of the awards. And she used her speech to call out racism in the industry. She said, "I remember when I first came to Hollywood, it was a dream until I got here. She was told she was a minority and she would never make it, and I guess she proved them wrong." And one of my favorite things Michelle's ever done, when they tried to play her off as she's giving a very heartfelt and important speech about racism in Hollywood, she said, "Stop playing the music, I can beat you up." And like literally, I believe that she could. In other moments of her career, she said that when she first arrived in Hollywood, she said people couldn't really tell the difference between whether I was Chinese, Japanese, or Korean, or if I even spoke English. They would talk very loudly and very slow at me. I didn't work for almost 2 years until Crouching Tiger, simply because I could not agree with the stereotypical roles that were put forward to me. Most recently, and why I say I know so many of the Mayhem fam have seen her films, is she played Madame Morrible in Wicked, which of course has part 2 coming out later this year. She's also slated to be in Blade Runner 2099 and Avatar 4, so safe to say Michelle's not stopping anytime soon. Outside of her acting career, she's also been quite the activist, campaigning and speaking out for causes such as the Save China's Tiger, for safer roads around the world, the HIV/AIDS epidemic, and more. And the last thing I want to say about Michelle is that she ended that incredible Oscar speech with this quote. And this is also for all the shoulders that I stand on, all who came before me, who look like me, and all who are going on this journey with me forward. So thank you in believing in us. So Michelle, an incredible, iconic actress, finally getting her due with Everything Everywhere All at Once. We are headed into the Wicked experience to see if we can find some Madame Morrible. Yeah, we found her already. She's, gigantic, multi-stories tall on the side of the building. The Wicked experience is a walkthrough experience here at Universal Studios Florida, where they have got set recreations and costume recreations and props from the film, as well as it is a store. So there's like an unbelievable amount of Wicked merchandise, if that is your thing. So let's go see what else we can find with Madame Morrible. There's also, I should let you know, a little snack stand right here with Wicked themed snacks. And for the Black History Month video, I tried the avocado toast in honor of Cynthia Erivo, and ooh, it bangs. All right, let's see. Obviously, we're gonna find Miss Galinda, Toss, and more Glinda, Elphaba. The bedroom recreation is adorable. Oh, candles. But we are still on a quest for Michelle. Oh, here's Nessa and the shoes. Can you even with the shoes? Okay, Fiero, Cynthia, Elphaba. Found her. Here we go. Now, this is not the one she wore on set. That's probably being used, I would guess, for part 2. But this is a replica made to exact proportions and detail of the original. And it is stunning. I personally quite enjoyed her in the film. But I think, although, kind of easy to see the twist coming when your name rhymes with horrible. Oh, also, you could take home Michelle Yeoh. If you so desired, you could take home this set of Madame Morrible and Elphaba, and you could have your very own Michelle Yeoh at home. Also, I would be remiss to be in a Wicked store filming an AAPI Month video and not shout out John Chu, the director of the film, who also incredible. Also celebrating this month. So snaps for him as well. But got a few more people to talk about in more detail. Popped out of the park into City Walk for our next destination. And as we get there, we are going to talk about Taku Murayama. He began his career after getting an MBA in leadership development here at Universal Orlando. And shortly after Universal Studios Japan was opened, he headed over there to work in human resources. Because of his dedication and hard work, he was promoted to senior management and marketing, where he had a strong role in business development and corporate partnerships. In 2020, Taku was promoted to Executive Officer and Senior Vice President, as well as the Chief Marketing Officer of Universal Studios Japan, which of course he dealt with the marketing and business challenges of COVID. To bring people back to the park and to encourage attendance, he oversaw the still existing No Limit campaign, which is Universal Studios Japan's current tagline, and they'll use it throughout different parade names and other events. As part of his desire to give back in the community, he launched a tourism marketing class at the Osaka Metropolitan University to encourage the next generation to take up theme park leadership. Additionally, as part of his role of SVP and Chief Marketing Officer, he oversaw some of the expansions at the park, including Super Nintendo World, with the original part being the first Super Nintendo World on the planet. When describing this, he said, "We are delivering the ultimate wish fulfillment by transporting fans to places they've only dreamed, and in doing so, igniting the thrill of feeling alive. In Super Nintendo World, you can jump like Mario, punch blocks, collect digital coins, and battle on Rainbow Road." More recently, Super Nintendo World expanded in Japan to add Donkey Kong Country. And Taku said this new area will create jobs and attract inbound tourism, impacting not only Japan as a whole, but the world. We hope to make those who experience this new area super energized. And let me tell you, as someone who's been to Donkey Kong Country here in Orlando, everybody there feels energized. There is no way to move through that section of the park without dancing to the music. It just feels alive. So gotta say they nailed it. Recently, and taking effect on June 1st of this year, Taku was promoted to Executive Vice President and General Manager of Universal Studios Japan. Upon receiving his promotion, he said, "Today our park welcomes an unprecedented number of guests from both Japan and around the world, solidifying its position as the largest theme park in Asia and one of the best in the world. As we celebrate our 25th anniversary next year, we remain committed to delivering inspiring, once-in-a-lifetime experiences that go beyond imagination. I firmly believe there is no limit in the potential of people, and I want to support creating an environment where potential of each person can flourish." So, in honor of Taku and his wonderful work at Universal Studios, particularly in Japan, we are headed into the brand new Super Nintendo World store here on City Walk. This just opened last week. I've never even stepped foot inside here, so let's go explore. Speaking of no limit, I wish my credit card had no limit when it came to buying all the Epic merchandise, because it's so good. Now this is awesome because you can get pretty much everything, I'm noticing, from Super Nintendo World right in here. So if you're not making it to Epic, but you still love Mario and you still want to pick up some merchandise, or perhaps you want to get some stuff to be ready for when you go, you want to have that headband all set before you walk in the park, you could stop by here at City Walk. And I just feel compelled to add something to my Universal Orlando Epic Universe collection when I'm in here. And I think that thing, per usual, is someone for my bag, because it's my favorite thing to have little dongles on my bag. But the question is, do I want Donkey Kong? Because I love his part of the park so much. Well, I could get Diddy, because he's like he's littler. This is he's a big boy. I could get, oh my gosh, Racer Toad. I don't love him as much as Chef Toad, but I do love him. Or, haha, yeah! I think I gotta get Latiku. I love him. He's one of my favorites. How cool it must be to work on a project like Super Nintendo World, to oversee the marketing for it, and then see it come to life in not one, not two, but 3 different resorts around the world. That must just be the coolest feeling. We're gonna stay on City Walk to talk about this next creative, Harriet Cheng. She started her job as a production coordinator and a producer on a variety of brands such as Time Warner and Disney. She started in film and TV, but she moved to Universal Studios in 1996, where eventually her role included overseeing all media for the parks. I'm talking pre-shows, ride segments, over 200 projects in total during her time in this role. She eventually went back to TV and was a production manager on channels such as VH1 and CMT. And she continued in a variety of producer roles for a variety of notable companies, but in 2010 went to Disney Imagineering as a project coordinator for entertainment during the concept phase of Shanghai Disneyland. For 2 years, she served as the project director at the University of Southern California Shoah Foundation, which is where Steven Spielberg's extensive Holocaust survivor testimonial library is located. And their mission is to overcome prejudice, intolerance, and bigotry, and the suffering they cause through the educational use of the Institute's visual history testimonies. Harriet started work in theme parks again by joining Universal Creative in 2019 as a senior media and show producer, and she was hired to work on a little project called Universal Epic Universe. She was promoted to senior media producer in 2021 and currently serves as an executive media producer. Her role makes her responsible for the media strategy and production, which includes writing of scopes, interviewing, and selecting of final media vendors. So think anything you're gonna watch on a screen when you're in a park, that is what she oversees for all of Epic Universe. I watched one of her presentations when doing research for this video, and my favorite thing she said was about storytelling. She said storytelling. Theme park attractions are all about the story. It's an intrinsic human characteristic to tell stories and inform others of our life events. From the beginning of time, humans have tried to pass on our experiences with whatever technology was available. When we create the experiences of our lives, the ones that are so memorable, they light us up time and time again. Those are the experiences we want to remember, whether it be in a theme park or our everyday lives. And I can certainly tell you, as someone who's had the privilege to go to Epic Universe several times, these are the experiences that are going to light you up time and time again. So, to Harriet, we are headed in to the Epic Universe Preview Center right now to take a look at the little model that became a full park. I know I've talked about this model many times before, and at this point, Universal Epic Universe is officially open, and you have hopefully watched our grand opening video, and hopefully you've seen our other coverage of the park as well. But it is so surreal to stand here and look at a model and know I've been there, that many of you have been there or are going there, and to know I have walked under that Chronos and into these portals, which I remember looking at this and thinking, I hope it is half as cool as this model looks, and watching all of the promotional footage of it and thinking, I hope it looks half as good as this concept art. And that concept art was a promise from Universal Creative to us, and so I just wanted to come in here and look at it and think about all the hard work that Harriet and dozens more like her put into this park. And for our final chat, we are going to talk about one of the most prolific actors of all time, because he brought to life one of the most iconic characters in history. We're talking Frankenstein's monster. We're talking Boris Karloff. Born as William Henry Platt in London, and he is at least a quarter Indian, as his maternal grandmother is Indian, but it's also been long speculated that his mother was part Indian as well. However, due to rampant racism at the time, they tried to conceal it as much as possible. However, because of his darker complexion, along with the fact that he had a stutter, a lisp, and was bow-legged, he was bullied for being different and weird growing up. Kids would often ask him and his mini brothers to do stereotypical Indian dance moves. So he found his escape in theater, which unfortunately made him an outcast even amongst his family, where many of his siblings followed his father's career path of civil service. He decided he wanted to get far from home, and so he made some money and flipped a coin, deciding whether he would go to Australia or Canada, and used everything he had to leave the continent and move to British Columbia to pursue his acting dream. He had labor jobs to get by and eventually wanted to join an acting troupe, but feared his name gave him away as Anglo-Indian, so he gave himself the stage name Boris Karloff for the audition and was known the worldwide as Boris Karloff ever since. But fun fact, he never legally changed his name, so he used to sign all of his checks and contracts as William Henry Pratt, aka Boris Karloff. He worked his way through acting troupes in Canada and the United States and eventually found himself in Hollywood. His first confirmed screen role was for a film serial, which was kind of like a TV show that aired in movie theaters, called The Lightning Raider in 1919. And I call this his first confirmed role because through interviews and articles I read about him, he claims his first role was a film on the Universal lot where he was an extra and paid $5 to do the role. However, it's never been confirmed what movie this was, and no one's ever been able to find it. He continued to be in movies, often cast as Indian or Middle Eastern, also doing yellow face as different Chinese characters because he had a darker skin complexion and looked, quote, exotic. And he was in over 50 movies before the one we all know him for. But it almost actually wasn't Boris Karloff. The role of Frankenstein's monster was initially promised to Bela Lugosi of Dracula fame. However, Bela Lugosi was let go due to creative differences. There's a lot of speculation as to what happened. Things such as he didn't like the makeup that covered his handsome face after rising to fame as a sexy monster. He didn't like how dumb the character was, and he believed he deserved a more interesting role and even wanted to be Dr. Frankenstein instead of the monster. Whatever the reason was, director James Wan and him parted roles, and James offered the role to Karloff, and the rest is history. Funnily enough, Bela Lugosi does play Igor in the sequels, who's not exactly sexy, but I guess he does have more of a speaking role than the monster, or maybe Lugosi just wanted to jump on the popularity train, who's to say. There's also a lot of history of if Karloff and Lugosi got along, if they were rivals. All I know is they are two mountains of horror films. Now, working on Frankenstein was definitely not easy for Karloff. The costume for the monster includes 11-pound shoes each with 4-inch platforms, so that's 22 pounds total, prosthetics and makeup, and it took 4 hours every day to put it on and 2 hours to remove it. But it was worth it because it was a success. It earned $1.4 million at the box office, which is about $32 million today, and it has since been chosen by the National Film Registry to be preserved due to its cultural, historical, and aesthetic significance. Boris Karloff continued his monster success by being Imhotep in The Mummy, which cemented his status as a horror icon. He continued to be in many, many films, but one of my favorite stories I read is that he returned in 1933 to England to film The Ghoul, and he was reunited with his siblings for the first time in decades, and he was very nervous that they wouldn't approve of him and his macabre career choice and rise to fame. But the opposite couldn't have been truer. They immediately posed for press pictures with him and asked for copies as soon as the photos were taken. And Boris Karloff has said that them asking for copies of their own has been one of his favorite memories in his whole life. Karloff also starred in the sequels to Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein in 1935 and Son in Frankenstein in 1939, across many, many other roles across all genres. He dabbled in the stage, notably playing Captain Hook in a 1950 adaptation of Peter Pan, and he was nominated for a Tony for his role in The Lark in 1952. Karloff also did voice recording. He recorded children's stories such as Peter and the Wolf and Mother Goose, but also recorded and edited several horror anthologies. One of his most iconic performances that not everyone may realize is him, I didn't realize it till much later, is he is the original narrator and voice of the Grinch in the animated Christmas special. However, Thurl Ravenscroft does the singing of You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, aka Tony the Tiger, but it is often attributed to Boris Karloff. He ended up winning a Grammy for this late in his career. Outside of acting, he was a charter member of the Screen Actors Guild Union, often speaking out against the makeup and hard working conditions of Frankenstein, and he dressed as Santa for decades to hand out gifts to kids at children's hospitals. Boris Karloff passed away in 1969 at the age of 81. And although Karloff starred in literally hundreds of different productions across different mediums and different genres, one of those is the thing he's known for, and it is one of the most iconic characters in pop culture to this day. So, to celebrate Boris Karloff, I can think of no better way to do that than, I know you think we're going to Epic Universe, but we're actually going to go look at the literal shoes he wore to shoot Frankenstein. We could go to Epic Universe, though. You should go to Epic Universe. Go to Dark Universe. That's how popular these monsters are. Legacy, Karloff, there's a theme park land for them now. It's the best. And look, if you're really a Karloff fan, you could bring him home. You can bring home him as the mummy and him as the monster, where he's got different faces. Aw. Also, shout out to Boris Karloff for making me cry for the monster in Bride of Frankenstein when he befriends that blind man and then the humans are terrible to him. He just wanted a friend. But isn't that often the case where the monsters aren't actually the problem? We are headed into the horror makeup show lobby, and I will use any excuse in any video to go in here because it is so cool. If you are a pop culture nerd like I am, if you love movies, you have to go in here, even if you don't want to see the show, which I also recommend. It's an opening day show, all about the history of horror makeup, and it's very, very funny. Gotta come in this lobby because they have real props from movies all across time, and it's amazing what they have in here. I'm talking actual teeth from Bruce the Shark. I'm talking raptor claws from Jurassic Park. I'm talking Michael Myers mask. Oh look, there's Boris Karloff literally as we walk in as the mummy. Amazing, iconic. And here he is with Jack Pierce, the makeup artist, getting the Frankenstein mummy put on. But here it is, the literal shoes worn in Frankenstein, which is so cool. You've also got the coil right here and the light bulb and some of the prosthetic makeup. Isn't this amazing? Oh, look at this quote. The monster was the best friend I ever had. I'm gonna cry. This also says that he had back problems for the rest of his life after starring in Frankenstein, which is not shocking when you think about the shoes, the costume, the padding, the makeup. Oh, this says that he spent 8 hours doing the mummy makeup. So Boris Karloff is not a stranger to Jack Pierce's makeup chair, and he truly suffered for his art, but we are grateful. I just love coming in here and learning new things about iconic films and anyone can go in there. You don't have to go see the show. It's air conditioned. Go look around in there. But also, just as a personal note, one of the coolest things as a horror girly and as a movie fan was the fact that last year when they did one of the Monsters houses at Universal Hollywood, they had the HHN house in the original sound studio where they filmed Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, which is so cool. Plus, if you go to Universal Hollywood, you can see the movie set where Frankenstein's monster first emerges in the town in the European village, and like, it's iconic. It is, I challenge you to name a more iconic character than Frankenstein's monster, like Mickey Mouse maybe, but he's up there. He's like icon of all icons, and that is largely thanks to Boris Karloff. Well, that, friends, is a wrap on this month's video for Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. As always, I appreciate you watching. I hope you had fun learning. I have so much fun learning and researching about these people that brought these amazing things to life. And for me, it makes the movies and the parks and the characters so much richer, and I have so much more appreciation for them because I know some more about the people who created them. Now, as always, in putting our money where our mouth is, Mammoth Club will be donating $500 to the Asian American Legal Defense and Education Fund, which, from their website, focuses on critical issues affecting Asian Americans, including immigrant rights, voting rights and democracy, economic justice for workers, educational equity, housing and environmental justice, and the elimination of anti-Asian violence, police misconduct, and human trafficking. Among their many, many programs, they started the #StopAsianHate movement. They also are currently focusing on educating the immigrant community on their legal rights. So if you would like to join us in making a donation, I have the link down below. And as always, a personal thank you for watching these videos. I know I say it every time, but these stories need to be told, and unfortunately sometimes it takes someone that looks like me to tell these stories. So I hope you had fun learning some new ones. Let me know down in the comments which story you found the most inspiring. Get excited for next month because it's June, so that means Pride Month. And until next time, friends, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, follow us on social media, come hang out with us in Discord. And until next time, friends, I'm Molly, and it has been magical. Bye!